As part of our series on the US elections this week, we're looking at the polls that have been feeding expectations on the chances of either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton making it through to the White House on the 8th of November. After the latest TV debate, the third and last scheduled, Clinton was given a 13-point lead over Trump in the CNN ORC poll, which it said was Trump's strongest showing of the three TV debates. From 62 to 27 in the first debate, there was a clear increase in the share of the vote for Trump over Clinton as the three debates over a three-week period developed. But clearly, Trump is still way behind. To analyse the polls for us, we're now joined by the CEO of the UK pollster Survation, Damian Lyons Lowe. Damian, welcome. First of all, just explain to us how the US goes about putting these polls together, the methodology behind it.
So it's a big country, and polling is expensive. And there are something like 90 opinion pollsters in the states that conducted actively work, say for the previous election cycle. There is a combination of internet polling, which is internet panel polling as we'd understand it, live telephone calling, and also robocalling, which is unique to the states, where there's an interactive voice response. Calling people at home on their landlines and sometimes topping up with mobile.
So there's no personal interaction between the person asking the questions, it's all done automatically?
Not with that one, and this robocalling, as well as some other methods and live telephone polling in the past, has exaggerated the Republican Party vote share because it has had less mobile phones in it.
So what then is the margin for error when looking at the experiences we saw in 2012 when Mitt Romney was up against then President Obama for his second term? What was the margin for error there, and what can we learn for this time around?
The margin of error of 1,000 sample size is about 3%, and when you've got a two-horse race, you need to bring that down somewhat. And one of the ways that that's been done in the past and is done currently is looking at poll of polls, so averaging the polls that occur each day, applying some sort of time decay to older polls, and coming up with an average. And on that basis, Hillary Clinton is about 7 points ahead of Donald Trump at the moment in terms of the presidential national vote share.
And that's more than the margin for error. So if, assuming we get a result based on even the worst case scenario, she would still get through.
So this is the action of looking at this in a poll of polls on a national vote share. It brings the margin of error down very low. So there would need to be something very systematically wrong with polling in the states for a 7% lead that Hillary Clinton has in the poll of polls to really be much different to that.
Let's look at the breakdown as well, because we're talking about state by state, aren't we? These electoral colleges, this is the way it's all calculated. It's not the popular vote, is it? It's not the counting up individual votes. It's the individual states with their own weighted vote count.
That's right. So there's 538 electoral college votes up for grabs in the states, and they differ by the size of the state for its population that are able to vote. So, a big state like Florida has 29 electoral college votes, and so that's a very important state to win. Currently, Hillary's national vote share does actually look a bit like Hillary's made some pretty good progress since October, and some of the key states that Donald Trump would need to win, like Ohio, like Florida, like North Carolina, where he's been actually ahead in those state-level polls, as the national share has picked up for Hillary in some good debate performances, and of course Donald Trump's controversial statements about women and secret tapes and so on coming out. Some of the state-level polling in these key states has picked up for Hillary Clinton. So whereas Ohio, which has 18 electoral college votes, Trump was ahead there in September. He was ahead in Florida. He was ahead in North Carolina in October. Hillary is now 2 to 3 points ahead in these key states. Now, Donald Trump needs to win in these large states. He's behind at the moment. The debate last night didn't really give us any huge blows that he was able to land on Hillary. I thought she put in quite a solid performance, and so eyes down for these swing states in terms of how the hell Donald Trump can pull something around here.
Yeah, the IG spread bet on this, what we call digital 100s now, is showing a clear Clinton win. Now we know there's obviously a margin for error there as well. The message is it's really for Clinton to lose rather than Trump to win at this point.
Yeah, and there's been some discussion about what should Hillary's strategy be. Should she go for a defensive strategy where the states where she's most likely to win maximise her chances of winning those states, just make sure that, say Florida, for example, does she make sure that she wins Florida, or does she try to win states that she may not have otherwise thought she could win, and on a higher national vote share seek to embarrass Donald Trump and sort of get the Democrats back into the box seat in terms of the psychology of the American system? Of course, Barack Obama's been hamstrung by having both houses against him throughout his tenure in office. You know, perhaps there's a more aggressive strategy she can employ. Of course, that wouldn't come without its own risks. If you have a more offensive strategy, you try to win more states, then perhaps you need to. That could open up some opportunity for Trump. But it's certainly very interesting. I think the Republican Party and Trump and how voters got out, and local factors and getting out those pledged Republican voters in these key states, that could really be the deciding factor, because you can turn a polling deficit into a ballot box victory. It's just more difficult, and it requires a lot of groundwork, which is difficult and expensive, and so it's going to be a very busy 3 weeks for the Donald Trump campaign.
Look, Damian, we've got to leave it there, but thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to Damian Lyons Lowe. He's the Chief Executive of Survation, helping us through the mire that is the polls leading up to the US elections on the 8th of November.